it's Editing Sharon here, and I just want to pop in and say that today's video is a little bit rambly because I just am chatting and talking about wherever my brain wants to go. I want all of my videos to feel very much like a natural conversation that I'm having and just a conversation between me and you guys, but this video is definitely a little bit rambly, so just stick with me, grab your knitting, and I hope you guys have a good watch. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sharona Knits Knitting Podcast. Today's episode is going to look just a little bit different from a regular podcast because I'm calling it my 100 subscriber special. I know people do this all the time, so it's not an original idea by any means, but I wanted to do something special to thank everyone for following along on my journey so far. First, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for 100 subscribers. I never could have imagined that the channel would have gained so much traction so quickly. I really started creating these videos just because I was at home and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And honestly, I just had nothing else better to do while I'm at home this semester. And I decided I would finally take the chance and dive off the deep end and start making knitting podcast. I've been saying that I wanted to do it for a long time, but some things that held me back were I was always afraid of being judged on the internet, of not being well received, of not having the talent or the skill to do this and put it on the internet for everyone to see. But I decided to just really go in for it. And the support that I've received has been so overwhelming. So far, I've made one long form podcast and I've done a couple of video shorts. These shorts are mainly going to be yarn store tours or just like knit with me's, quick little videos like that, just so that people can see what I'm getting up to during the week. I love having this space where I can share my yarny adventures with everyone. Through this first knitting podcast, I've received so many lovely comments and text messages from my friends and stuff like that. And people have just said the most encouraging and most supportive things. I never in a million years could have thought that the channel would gain so much support so quickly and that so many people would like to watch me talk at a screen for like 30 minutes. This video might actually turn out to be a little longer because I'm just going to be doing a kind of knit and chat moment here. I'm going to be talking a little bit about why I started this YouTube channel, where I hope it goes, giving you guys a little more information about me personally, and also, of course, catching you up a little bit on what I'm working on. But another podcast will be coming this weekend where I'm going to go over my finished objects, a bunch of which are blocking right now, so I can't show you guys. But we're going to talk about all of that. So before I get into showing you guys some of my current whips, I just want to say again, thank you so much for following along. I hope to continue making all of these videos and continue having this video diary and community where I can inspire other people, I can be inspired by others, and it's just a safe space for everyone to enjoy knitting, enjoy crafting, and to just have a good time. So grab your knitting, maybe grab some tea, something cozy, and just sit down, let's have a little chat. First, I'm going to start off by going over some of my whips that I've been working on this week. So this week, I did have 2 finished objects that are both being blocked, so I currently cannot show them to you, very sad, but they will come in this weekend's podcast. Currently, I am working on a sock. So this sock, I wrote the pattern down. It is the Natural Beauty Socks by Annabel Williams, and it's going to be a sock for my grandmother for Christmas. I think this blue is Phil Kalana Arvetta that's left over from the Stay Toasty scarf that I made. And then the green is just it's a random Madeline Tosh yarn that I've had in my stash forever, and I just wanted to use it, and I thought the colors would pair together, be really fun, and be a really cute Christmas present. Actually, I started these socks maybe like one day after I filmed my first podcast last week, and I have just taken off on them. Over the weekend, me and my family went to Missouri so that my little brother could tour Wash U because he's considering going there for college. And I knit so much of this on the plane, pretty much like probably half of this foot. I knit so much of it on the plane. And that's where I was also able to finish up my other Stay Toasty scarf. So really plain knitting. I've been watching The Karate Kid. I've been watching Wednesday Addams. It's been great. I've been getting a lot done. So, the project that I did not take with me to Michigan because it's a little too big is my Lauder sweater V-neck. So, this is the V-neck sweater that I'm currently working on. As you can see right now, I am primarily working on the sleeve. It's this beautiful all over cabled sweater. My arm's a little tangled. There we go. This beautiful, beautiful all over cabled sweater. I'm knitting it up in this purple yarn that my mom got me from Taiwan. I don't actually know the brand or really anything about it. It's just this beautiful purple yarn. Once again, this is the Lauder sweater by Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea. I've been working on this for probably 2 years on and off now. I just keep putting it down and picking it back up. The all over cables are definitely a lot. I've just started on the sleeve, so hopefully I'll get a bunch more of the sleeve done within the rest of this week. Okay, my most recent project that doesn't look like anything yet, it's this little line, kind of looks like a caterpillar right now. It's just a teeny little thing that I've cast on so far. If you can't tell, which you probably can't, it is the cuff of the gloves. I'm using the gloves pattern by Mary Garing Designs, and these gloves are actually another gift knit that I'm making. And today I'm going to be working on the ribbing for the cuff while we do a little chatting. Okay, so that's all that I have that I'm working on. So now let's get our knitting and let's get to chatting. First off, I'm going to start by talking a little bit about who I am. Sorry if I'm looking down a little bit more. I still definitely look down a little bit for when I knit, especially in this dark yarn. It's a very, very dark blue and the lighting isn't fantastic in this room. So I'll definitely be looking a little bit as I knit and purl. I'm doing a 2x2 rib, but I'll just be kind of talking, chatting. So feel free to knit alongside with me and just, chat. So first, a little bit about me. I am a college student currently who is taking a semester of personal leave. I attend Skidmore College in upstate New York, and I am a education studies major. I intend to become an elementary school teacher once I graduate. I'm a biology minor because I have always loved science, and I thought for a long time I wanted to be a doctor or pre-med or something like that. But when I went into college and took my first education class, I completely fell in love with teaching. So I decided to pursue biology as a minor. I'm considering to do a teaching license extension to teach biology for middle schoolers. I personally don't think I could ever teach high schoolers. They're just a little too advanced and a little too scary for me. I'm not like a big, tall, or very commanding person, I would say, but I do love middle schoolers. I have a lot of experience working with both younger children and adolescents, and I love teaching and I just love working with kids. I'm currently in my junior year of college, so I have one more year left, or 3 semesters before I will graduate. So that's a little bit about me and who I am. A little bit about my knitting journey. So I talked a little bit about this in my very first podcast, but I started knitting about 2022, 22, 23, 24. So almost 3-4 years ago now at this point. I was a senior in high school in 2022, and I have this really bad habit of picking at my fingers when I get anxious or nervous or bored. It's just a bad habit that I've done my entire life. It started to get really bad during senior year of high school because of college applications and anxiety around that. And one of my good friends taught me how to knit to help me reduce that need to kind of pick at my fingers and give me a different way to fidget. I first actually learned to crochet, so that's how this all started. She bought me hooks and yarn, and I learned to crochet granny squares. This really took off, and for pretty much the entire year of high school I was just crocheting granny squares in all of my classes, in all of my free time, whenever I was hanging out with people. I was just really going ham on the crocheting of these granny squares. And then after I crocheted probably 200 or so granny squares, I was like, what am I going to do with all these granny squares? And she was like, you should make a cardigan. So I did. I made a granny square cardigan. And if you follow me on Sharona Knits at Instagram, you can see one of my first posts is me in that cardigan. It was lovely. It was so much fun. It was amazing to have a garment that I can wear. It's still at my house right now. And I just felt so accomplished. From there, I was like, okay, I want to start making more things. So I learned to crochet a hat, which is very simple. And then I was like, you know what? I want to learn to knit. I learned to knit a hat. And then my friend has always been a very much dive off the deep end person. She was like, oh, if you want to knit a sweater, like you can knit a sweater. I'll help you. We'll follow a pattern. You don't need to like do too much. You can do this. And so I purchased yarn to knit my very first sweater in the senior year of high school, so in 2022, and that is when I knit my first sweater. It was a gray, it's the seamless or something mock neck sweater, and it was really easy. It was really fun. I love the way that it turned out. I still have it in my closet today, and I will obviously never get rid of it because it is such a great memory for me. I don't wear it as often just because it doesn't have any short rows to raise the neck. The fit's not exactly what I love about it, but it's just such a good memory, and I can never imagine myself ever getting rid of like the first sweater that I knit. After that one, I did make the Sunday sweater by Petite Knit, and I still wear the Sunday sweater all the time. The fit is great. I love the pattern. That one was knit up in Drops Air, so I love the blown yarn. It's super soft, and I had such a good time making that as well. Ever since that first sweater, I have really just been a garment knitter. I really knit a bunch of sweaters. I've knit t-shirts and tank tops. I haven't really knit many bottoms. I want to do that more. I kind of like knit a skirt a couple of years ago, but I didn't really wear it a lot, and it's not exactly my style. The yarn's very warm and thick, and it's like a mini skirt, so it's a little too hot. But it did turn out really cute. I do really want to get into knitting some more bottoms. And then kind of senior year of high school, after I went on a trip to Europe, I really got more into sock knitting because I wanted to knit socks from all the different places that I was visiting in Europe. So I got a bunch of different types of sock yarn and stuff like that. And I thought it would be a really cool souvenir to have. So I really got into knitting socks. My first pair of socks that I ever knit was with Sorella yarn. My same friend who taught me to knit introduced me to Sorella in my senior year of high school, and I have always loved their yarn. Their Knitflix collection was the Great British Bake Off. The Knitflix collection was the first sock set that I ever bought and the first socks that I ever knit. The socks turned out way too big. They do not fit me, but I still keep them and I love looking at them, and I'm also never going to get rid of them because they're my first socks and they're so cute. So that was great. I have become a pretty avid sock knitter since then. Socks, I feel like, are a really easy and portable project. I can really take them everywhere with me. I can do whatever I want when I'm like knitting socks. And if they're just stockinette, I can have a conversation, I can chat, I can be, waiting at a restaurant to get my food or just in a line, and I can always whip out a pair of socks super easily. Yeah. So after my senior year of high school, I decided to take a gap year for my mental health before going to college. So I finished in 2022, but I didn't go to college immediately. I already knew that I was going to be going to Skidmore and I had already committed, but I chose to just take 1 year off and defer to the next year. Originally, during my gap year, I had planned to attend this like backpacking climbing program, but things did not go quite as planned. Ooh, excuse me. Okay, I'm gonna get a sip of water since I just had that sneeze too. It's actually tea. My mom made me some really nice tea in this thermos that I've just been sipping on. You can hear that I'm still a little sniffly and stuff, getting over a bit of a cold, so the tea is great. But yeah, back to the story. After my senior year of high school, I chose to take a gap year and do a kind of backpacking, adventure, outdoor education trip, but it just wasn't for me. I got about a bit into the trip and things just weren't going right. My mental health wasn't well, my physical health wasn't well. It was just not the place that I needed to be at the time, and I decided to leave that program early and come home with my mom. The program was in Colorado. It is a lovely, lovely program called the High Mountain Institute. If you are into things like backpacking and rock climbing and skiing and all that outdoorsy stuff, I would highly recommend it. It's a really well-known and well-renowned program. It just wasn't who I was, and it is not who I am. I was trying to be someone who I'm not, pretty much. So I had started also climbing senior year of high school just as like a form of exercise and as a fun form of exercise. And I thought like since I climbed and like my school did a lot of like hiking trips, like we went to Yosemite and did Half Dome and stuff. I was like, wow, like I can be this really outdoorsy person. I just realized that I can't. Like I love having a comfortable, cozy bedroom. I hate bugs. They terrify me. I love having access to my warm, hot shower and clean clothes and it wasn't the right program for me. My friend who did it, she absolutely loved it and she still climbs to this day. So yeah, it really just wasn't it for me. But when I came home, I was really working a lot on like finding myself, finding out who I am, and figuring out what to do with this year that I now had that I was just going to be at home. And so pretty much what I decided to do was just knit a ton. I did take like a couple community college courses just so that I could keep up with my educational pursuits, but mostly I just decided to knit a lot. That's when I really got into knitting a bunch of sweaters. I started knitting more socks and just everything pretty much. And that's also when I started my knitting Instagram, Sharona Knits. I started that knitting Instagram right after I got home from the program. And I decided to start documenting both my personal growth and mental health journey along with my knitting journey on this Instagram. My first posts were mostly like pictures with little like notes that I would type and have little paragraphs about how I was doing that week, how I was growing as a person and stuff like that. And so that's really where all of this started. I feel like YouTube and creating this channel really calls back to the reason that I started knitting in the very first place was to help me with my mental health and to just like find a way to cope with the stressors of life. And so I think that this is really a great way to get back into kind of that mindset and not just knitting for the sake of creation, but really knitting as a like coping mechanism and as a strategy for my life. So yeah. Then I went to college. A little bit about college, mostly was a sock knitter my freshman year. If you are in college or university or you have big lecture classes in high school or something like that, or grad school, I cannot recommend enough socks for the lectures. Socks for the lectures is my motto. It got me through so many of my classes. I am someone who, when I am not doing things, like if I'm just sitting there listening to a professor lecture at me, I will get very sleepy. I have fallen asleep in class a couple of times, not my finest moment. And sock knitting just keeps me awake during the class. It gives my hands something to do so I'm not picking at my fingers or like fiddling with my pens and stuff like that. And I just have something to do. And also, a lot of studies have shown that like knitting can help your brain because when your hands are like crossing the midsection, it's kind of like activating different parts of your brain that help with like memory and learning and stuff like that. And so knitting is really great for that. And I feel like sock knitting is so convenient because socks are super tiny and you can just throw them in your backpack. Like my socks come in this super small little bag and I just throw them in this backpack. Sorry, I don't know why I reached down. I thought maybe I had my sock bag with me. I don't. But yeah, it's very, very convenient. Knit so many socks. It's also when I started doing a lot more gift knitting in college is when I started doing more gift knitting. I have knit a lot of gifts for like my family and a couple of my friends, and primarily for my boyfriend. I've made my boyfriend, the first thing that I made him was a hat. I've made him multiple pairs of socks as well, and I've even made him a scarf. I've made other friends scarves, beanies, and stuff like that. And I made my mother a sweater a couple of years ago, or no, yeah, like maybe 2 years ago, but she's not a very big wool wearer just because of how itchy it gets. So yeah, I primarily try to make her smaller things now and just show her all the pretty things that I make for myself. I would say that I am quite a selfish knitter. I know there are some people that absolutely love to gift knit for other people. I tend to get very emotionally attached to my knits, and I really want to keep all of them. Like, whenever I make something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I put all this hour and all these time into making these knits. Like, I don't want to give it away. I want to keep it and keep it for me, and it'll look so pretty on me and stuff like that. But I think around the holiday season, like right now for Christmas, I'm really in more of my gift knitting grind. And for birthdays, I'm more likely to do a little more gift knitting and stuff like that. But throughout the year, mostly, I am a pretty selfish knitter, and I make a lot of garments and things just for myself, which I don't think is a problem. I think if you love gift knitting, more power to you. You're an amazing human being. Knit for everyone in your life who is knit worthy. But if you love just making sweaters for yourself and making scarves and beanies and everything for yourself, do that, because this is your hobby and this is ultimately for you. Like, knitting is your hobby. You shouldn't feel pressured to knit for other people and stuff like that. You should just knit whatever makes you happy. And if that's gift knitting or selfish knitting, it truly does not matter. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about really why I am here on YouTube and kind of get into the weeds of that. So as I mentioned before, I am a college student, but I'm on leave for my mental health and taking care of that at home before I go back into continuing my education. And I realized that I want to have a space where I can share my journey with others and where I can also keep this video diary for myself. I have never been much of a journaler. That's what I originally kind of tried to do with my knitting Instagram, is like journal and chronologue things and write them down and type them. But honestly, my brain works too fast for typing, and I get really tired and I get kind of lazy, and so I'll stop doing it. My therapist recommended video journaling to me, or video diarying, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna make a video diary, I should just make a knitting podcast, because I've been saying I want to make a knitting podcast ever since I started knitting and watching knitting podcasts. So why don't I just get on here and do this and share my journey with other people? I also feel like being on the internet and talking about my own journey will really help to dispel some of the stigma around mental health. I think that there's still a lot of stigma around being public with your mental health and talking about it, and I hope that our world can change that in the future, and I hope to help be part of that change. I also really wanted to expand my knitting community. I feel like at my college, I've had a really good knitting community with the club there. And I do have a good number of like knitting friends that I met overseas, and a number of good knitting friends that I've met here at home. But I feel like I just want to continue growing that community because I love talking with other knitters. I love meeting other knitters. I love seeing what other people are knitting. That's why I watch so many hours and hours of podcasts. And so I thought, what better way to, build more community than to kind of create my own little space, my own little corner of the internet where I can help people build a community and where I can work on building my own community. So yeah, that is pretty much why I am here on YouTube. I really never thought that the videos would get many views. I kind of thought it would just be like me and like my boyfriend and maybe my family members watching them, and maybe some of my friends. I never knew that so many strangers would be so supportive. I really like that. Obviously, there are personal details about my life, like where I'm living and stuff like that, that I will keep private, just because this is the internet and we still, like, I don't know everyone, but I know that the knitting community is so supportive and so great. And I can't wait to share everything that I get up to with you guys. So, yeah, right now I'm going to take another sip of my water right after I finish this row. And I'm gonna just grab my phone real quick to check. I got asked a couple of questions on Instagram that I wanna take a minute to answer as well. Yeah, okay. Hey everyone, I am back, got some water, and I'm ready to continue chatting it up. Okay, so I only got asked 2 questions, which is totally fine, pretty expected. And one was from my boyfriend, one was from my boyfriend, and one was from my older sister. My older sister, who I love so dearly, and she's one of my biggest role models and one of my biggest supporters, she wants to know how it feels to have the best big sister. And I would like to say that it feels great. I have an amazing big sister who has now made me an auntie, so now I can knit baby clothes for my niece, which is also fantastically fun. And my sister has just always been there, always supporting me. We have a 10-year age gap, so I really got to grow up with her next to me and learn a lot from her as she grew up as well. So yeah, how does it feel? It just feels fantastic. Couldn't ask for a better sister ever. My boyfriend wants to know if I'll consider crocheting more. That is a very good question. Honestly, since probably 2023, late 2022, 2023, I haven't crocheted at all. I caught the knitting bug and I have just been knitting it away. I have used crochet for maybe like a bind off or to tighten a neckline or something like that, but I haven't really crocheted any big projects. And honestly, I don't think I will. I don't like crocheting as much as I like knitting, and I don't feel the need to do both. I feel like my crocheting skills really aren't up to par with my knitting skills because I just haven't done it as much, and I don't really want to put in the effort to doing more crochet. I personally mostly am a garment knitter, and I like the way that knit garments look. I don't think that I would like to crochet as many garments, and I feel like the main things that I have crocheted are those like amigurumi small animals and toys. I would consider making more of those. They just are a little fiddly and sometimes can be a little difficult to work with. And I also know that there are a lot of great knitting patterns for those like little stuffed amigurumi toys as well. And so I want to try. One of my very much languishing whips, I'm not calling it a UFO because I'm not ripping it back, is the Moosh and Friends Moosh the Bear. That is currently sitting in a storage unit near my college, and I started that a really long time ago. And again, it was just very fiddly. Like making the head was really fiddly, making the body is getting really fiddly too. And so I just really put it aside and I haven't worked on it in a super long time. But I would love to make some more little cute animals and plushies because I do love those. On that note, one of my favorite knitting podcasters, Laura Penrose over here on YouTube, she recently posted these patterns of these very realistic cats that she made. Like these cats that she made her grandma a cat, and it just looks incredibly realistic, like a very, very real cat. And I am so intrigued. And you do it with like mohair and other yarns held together so you get that fur effect. And I am very, very intrigued by that cat. And I would love to make one. I've already hearted some of the patterns on Ravelry. I don't remember what they're called, but I'll put the links in the description. But yeah, I absolutely just love the way that that looks. I have a very good friend at college, and she absolutely loves cats. And I would love to make her one of these. I think that it would just be so cute because we don't really have pets in our dorm, but you can have this little cat that looks super real. Yeah. So I didn't get any other questions. So now I'm just gonna yap about things that I want to talk about, I guess. My plans for the rest of the year. Okay. So currently it is October 21st. I should start saying that at the beginning of the videos. I will remind myself to start saying the dates. But it's October 21st, and tomorrow, October 22nd, is my birthday. I am turning 21 years old tomorrow. I am of legal drinking age now in the US. I am a big girl, and I'm very excited about that. Tomorrow, I am going to have hibachi for dinner with my mom and my little brother. And so that is going to be really great. I'm so excited. Normally I would do a pair of like birthday socks or a special knit this time of year, but I've been knitting a lot for myself and I like all the projects I have going, and I didn't feel the need to cast on anything special for my birthday in particular. Normally friends always get me a lot of yarn too, which is really great, but my stash is huge. Eventually, one of these videos can also be like a house tour of my stash and all of my knits. I would love to do that. I have so many sweaters at home and so many skeins in stash. But yeah, so the biggest news I would say is that tomorrow is my birthday and I am incredibly excited. My birthday honestly feels a little bittersweet this year because aging scares me. Like, I know I'm not old. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm not old by any means. I did see a TikTok the other day where people were asking, like, middle schoolers, like, what age do you have to be born in to be considered old? And one of the middle schoolers was like, anyone born in, like, 2004 or earlier is an unk. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm old. But I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm 21. My life is just starting. That's something my dad loves to remind me, that my life is just starting, because I'm that person who likes to have everything planned out and feels like life is just racing away from me, but it's really not. It's all right here, and I just need to take it in. But I was supposed to spend my birthday in Denmark while studying abroad. Unfortunately, I'm not there. I chose to withdraw from the program and come home. And so it's a little bittersweet to know that I won't be there to celebrate this big birthday for me. But I'm really happy that I'm home and able to spend it with my family. I think it'll be super great. I haven't spent a birthday with my family since I went off to college, because I'm normally always at college. I'm going to get to see my sister and her husband and my niece this weekend as well. My grandparents also live with us, so I'll get to see them, and obviously my mom and my brother. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. I don't want to get too much into why I left study abroad because I've talked about it a lot on different social media platforms. If you go to my TikTok, which is yours, Sharona, you can see the entire kind of saga of what happened and why I withdrew. Mainly, it was just to care for my mental health. That's what I'll say. I think that it is so important to put your mental health first and to feel like you are safe and in a good place before anything else. I am always that person who is worried that I am behind other people in life. I am worried that I'm not doing as well as other people. I'm worried that I can't, crack it in the real world. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to do these really great big things. And I just feel like sometimes I forget to take care of my mental health first. I think that it is obviously very important to challenge yourself and push yourself in order for you to learn and grow as a person, especially as a young adult. When you're challenging yourself, you're learning and growing and shaping yourself into who you want to be as an older person. But I also think that taking time is so important, and that's something I am notoriously bad at. I'm a very fast knitter, and I go through life at a very fast pace. I want to get everything done right now. I want to do all of the stuff. I want to have a career and have a life and have a family and have everything figured out. I'm the same way with my knitting. I want to knit all of the projects right now and have everything done. And I just know that that's not feasible. And so something I'm really trying to work on in therapy right now is slowing down, enjoying the moment, not worrying about things that I cannot control, and just being here in my life. My dad always says that you just need to be yourself and you just need to be present. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. I feel like knitting is a really good way to be present. It's a very mindful activity for me. The repetitive motion and just like focused, especially if I'm focused on knitting something difficult like cables or lace, I feel like I get a lot of mindfulness because I'm very much in the moment concentrating on what I am doing. And it's also a great distraction as a coping mechanism. When I knit, I feel like I'm not thinking about all my worries and all my woes. I can really focus on just my work and my knitting, and I can enjoy this beautiful product that's going to come out at the end. I'm going to take this moment to stop and switch to a new project because I currently lost my measuring tape, which means I have no way of measuring how long things are. And one is coming. I ordered some on Amazon and they are coming. They're just not here yet. And so I can't really measure anything. My extra measuring tapes are at my college, and so they're not here with me. And so I've been kind of just going back and forth on projects that I don't really have to measure and that I can just knit on. I finished a good amount of that cuff, actually. Let me show it to you guys. So this is where my cuff is. Wow, you can't see anything on the phone. I'm going to try and take a better video of it, but it's just a really stretchy 2x2 rib cuff that's going to be for a pair of gloves as a Christmas present. And so that is going to be measured once I have a measuring tape. And then for now, I'll just work a little bit on this sweater and talk just a little bit more. I don't want this video to end up being like hours and hours long, but I do want the video to be a good length where you can really get some good knitting done. I love a good 45-minute, hour vlog where I can just really knit away and listen to someone else and just enjoy that time. So yeah, let's see. So my plans for the rest of the year. So currently I'm at home. I'm hopefully gonna get some maybe like babysitting gigs or something like that. As I mentioned, I love working with kids. And I'm just gonna do a lot of knitting. I actually recently have decided to start sample knitting as well. So keep you guys posted on how that goes and that journey for me. And then in November, we are obviously going to have a big family Thanksgiving. First Thanksgiving with my sister's new baby, which is really exciting. I'm going to help make a turkey and everything. It'll be really great. I remember when I was a little kid and my family didn't really do Thanksgiving, and I really wanted to eat like a whole turkey one year. So I convinced my mom that like me, my mom, and my brother and my sister, like we should make a whole Thanksgiving turkey just for the four of us. And that was way too much turkey, but it was so much fun. And I love making the turkey. I feel like it's such a learning experience in cooking. And I feel like I become a better cook when I do it. I do like to cook. Sometimes I am lazy and I just want food to appear in front of me, but I think everyone gets that feeling. But when I have the energy and when I'm excited about it, I really do like to cook, and I really love to bake as well. I used to bake a lot more as a kid. Obviously, in my current college dorm, I have not had an oven. But when I move into the apartments in the spring, I will have an oven and a full kitchen, and I will definitely be doing a lot more cooking. In December, my boyfriend is going to come here. I'm currently in California, where I'm from, to come visit. It's really great that he can come visit and hang out with me, and I can go see his family as well. I've got Christmas gifts prepped for like, his family, his cousins, stuff like that. And I'm going to go over after the holiday season. So we're going to spend Christmas separate and we're going to spend New Year's together. And so I'll bring all of my gifts then. And then we're going to go back to school. We start school again in late January. So it is pretty late. But then, yeah, we go back to school and I'll be starting my spring semester. In about 2 weeks, I'll be registering for classes as well. So I can always talk a little bit if people are interested about what classes I'm going to be taking next semester. The schedule hasn't even come out yet, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to take. But I have a pretty good idea. When I go back to school in my junior year for the spring semester, it's what we call junior block for the education department and our junior internship. So 2 days a week, I'm going to be doing a school placement. So I'm going to be in a local elementary school. And then the other days, I will be taking classes at my college. Likely 1 to 2 biology classes is what I intend. When I'm at school, I also work as a tour guide. And I work at the daycare on our school's campus. And I'm going to be doing research when I go back. Currently, right now, that's a good thing to talk about. I can talk a little bit about my research. That'll be interesting. I don't know if anyone else is interested, but I love talking about my research. So in the past year, I became the research assistant for one of my professors, and she was working on this like ESL data project. So for people who have never done like any type of research, or specifically not like educational, it's like an ethnographic research. So she followed these two students around in the school for many, many years while doing her PhD and collected hordes and hordes of data. And she's still using that data like to this day to write different things about. So I got to help work with her in coding this data. So there's this program called Atlas TI. You go online and the data all comes in video transcripts, and the videos are transcribed either like manually and with the help of like AI and stuff like that into transcripts that are written down. Those transcripts are uploaded into this thing called Atlas TI, and you go through and you read them and you code for things. As an example, like if I was doing it for knitting, you could code for like a purl. You could code for like a slip knit. It's like when you label things almost like in a chart. So I did that for pretty much an entire a year while I was at college. And now we are currently working on a paper. I won't talk a lot about it because we're still writing and we don't even know when it's going to come out or where it's going to come out yet. But we're working on a paper looking at this concept of translanguaging. Translanguaging is basically something very specific to multilinguals, and it's this concept that like multilinguals have this unique linguistic repertoire where their languages are not separated in their brains, but they're intertwined and mixed, and that like when multilinguals are in school and in the classroom and stuff, they should be allowed to use all of their language abilities. For example, I speak a lot of Chinglish when I'm at home. Pretty much, I will go straight from speaking English into speaking Chinese in the same sentence, in the same conversation all the time. And translanguaging really hones in on how that is a good language practice for multilinguals, and it's not a deficit mentality where I don't know enough Chinese, so I have to use English, or I don't know enough English, so I have to use Chinese. It's a unique part of who I am as a speaker and as a bilingual growing up. So yeah, that's a very long little tangent about my research. And going back to Skidmore, I will hopefully be working on a different research project, mainly on multicultural representation in children's literature, looking at where things like bilingualism and stuff like that is represented in children's literature and how that impacts students of color in predominantly white schools. I worked on that research over the summer a little bit, and I'm very excited to pick it back up when I go back to school, because I had such an amazing time. And I love doing research. Ideally, at some point in my life, I will get a PhD and I will do educational research. I feel like I always can see my life taking a couple different paths. Like I would love to do ed research. I also tell people I would love to just be a knitter. Like I feel like that would be an amazing idea for me as well, to just be a knitter and have so much fun knitting, making videos, maybe writing my own patterns. I've thought about that for a really long time. Maybe dyeing my own yarn, creating my own company. Something like that could also be really amazing. But obviously, I am still just getting started in this whole life thing, and I've got a long way to go. But I know that no matter where I go, my knitting will always be with me. I will never put the needles down, always knitting. And now I have this lovely video log where I can look back on this a bunch of years from now and be like, oh my God, that's what I talked about when I was 21. This is where I am now. What really happened? Did I make these dreams come true? And I feel like that's the beauty of having the internet and knowing that things are really forever here. Like I can keep everything stored here and come back to it in the future. My children can come back to it, grandchildren can come back to it. Like that is such an amazingly cool concept to me. Yeah. I guess I'll talk a little bit more and finish with a little more fiber art stuff, just because we seem to have gotten off a bit of a tangent and I seem to have gotten really personal life. But fiber arts. So, been a knitter for 3 or 4 years now, covered that. Recently, actually took up spinning. Maybe about a year ago, I decided I wanted to learn how to spin. So I have a drop spindle. I've made a couple different skeins of yarn. And then I decided to actually rent a spinning wheel. There's a place near my college where you can rent spinning wheels like on a monthly basis, because spinning wheels are really expensive and take up a lot of space. And I lived in a dorm and I'm a broke college student. So I rented the wheel for a month and made a bunch of yarn, and it was amazing. The second I get my own place and have all this big girl money, I will be getting a spinning wheel and it will be amazing. But I did purchase a small electric wheel. I purchased the electric eel wheel, the EEW Nano, the super tiny one. And I currently have that one in storage as well. I didn't think that I would spin while I was abroad and traveling, so I left that in storage. I'm a little sad that I left it because I would love to do some spinning now. But I got really into spinning, have a really good, I feel like, foundation to start off with, and I would love to do more spinning. I would love to get into weaving. I've been seeing a lot of beautiful woven tapestries and scarves and stuff, and I would love to take a class and learn how to do that. I've also taken one yarn dyeing class, and I would love to do more of that. I am very into this concept of natural dyeing that I've been seeing pop up everywhere on Instagram and on YouTube, people dyeing with like chestnuts and flowers and stuff. And I think it's so beautiful and such a lovely way to make yarn into these beautiful colors, and so sustainable and so great. I would love to take on some of that. I have sewed a little bit. I'm not very good. I'm not a sewist by any means, but again, I would love to take on more of it. Obviously, I would need a sewing machine and stuff like that. So maybe in the new year, one of my goals will be to take on a craft that I don't do quite as often. I can hand sew pretty well, like darn and mend things, but I really do want to get better at using the machine and sewing more like garments and other stuff. I think that could be super fun, like tote bags, purses, garments for myself and for others. And that could just be a really cool activity. My school actually has a maker space we call the Idea Lab that has sewing machines and sergers and things. So I definitely have the resources. I just want to I just need to put in the time to really amp up my sewing abilities. I think that I'm going to call it here. I've gotten quite a bit of knitting done. I obviously made a ton of progress on that cuff, and then I've made a bunch of progress on the sleeve too. I've probably done like 2 or 3 rows since we started talking, and so yeah, pretty good progress. I think that this is a really great knit and chat. A normal podcast again will be coming at the end of this week once all of my finished objects are done blocking, and I'll be ready to show them all off to you. Maybe I will even have some acquisitions, because perhaps I will get gifted yarn. Who knows? Or perhaps I will treat myself to some yarn as a birthday gift. Who knows, right? Who can ever have enough yarn? Not me. My mom actually always says that yarn doesn't expire, and I really live by that mentality. So yeah. I want to thank everyone again. If you just stuck through and you're still here listening to me yap, and you followed along. If you really like these videos, please please subscribe, like, comment. I love to hear from people. I will respond to every single comment. I love to create this community and be talking with people and just see what everyone else is thinking. And your words of support really, really keep me going and make me so happy. I once again never thought I would get this much support so quickly. It just goes to show how amazing the knitting community is and our crafting community overall. I just want to say thank you so much again for 100. I'm so excited to continue growing this channel and to continue making these podcasts and these videos and coming up with other ideas. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me know as well. And I'm just so excited to keep doing this. I'll see you guys in the next one.